All right, we're live.
Hi,
All right.
this is MVP Launch, and so for people who are new to MVP Launch, every episode will invite a founder of the startup talking about their company, what kind of problem they solving, and like what kind of obstacle they go along the way. So this week we have Travis. He's the VP of Surface.io. Welcome,
Surfside. Surfside.
Surfside.io.
Yeah.
My bad. Hi, Travis.
So we'll have Travis join. Let's see. Make sure everything's good. All right,
Hey,
Travis.
Travis.
You hear us?
Hey guys. Yeah, I can hear
All
you. Can you
right.
hear me?
Round
Yeah,
two. You look great. Man, the lighting is just beautiful.
I'm
much
right in front of
better.
a window this time instead of a wall. So I figured that would be
Nice.
better. How
Nice.
you guys
Well,
doing? How's
thanks.
your weekend? Happy
It was great.
Valentine's
I
Day.
mean, thank
Oh
you.
yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Yeah, it was very snowy. It's like, I think
Yeah.
we've had the most snow ever in a winter. And I was thinking today, I'm like, are snow days just canceled now? Like no more snow days?
They are. Yeah, they're canceled now. They're not a
That's
real thing
rough.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Like
crazy.
I feel so bad for these kids because like now it's like, well, I guess we're having school at home now. There's no escape.
No, it's true. My girlfriend's little sister's 12 and like they just don't have snow days anymore. Yeah. So it's a shame.
Damn. All
Those were the
right.
best
Well,
days of my life. So
yeah, those are like the best days off ever.
yeah.
Um, cool. Well, let's get going.
So
Just
Travis, tell us a bit about yourself.
yeah, just like how did you get to Surfside?
Um, how did I get to Surfside? So, always had a really strong interest in the cannabis industry. Went to I'm from Michigan, and we had a medical program really early here in comparison to other states. And then while at school at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, knew a lot of people getting involved in the medical industry early on, and had invested in a few like small scale cultivation operations on the medical side. So was just paying a lot of attention. That was starting in like 2012. And I mean, we were living all of us in China together at that time, but I was sending money home and investing in cannabis. And yeah, just started paying a lot of attention. And then I was doing my MBA at the University of Cape Town in South Africa after we left China. And they, the topic was really taboo there, despite the fact that they were really close to legalizing medical. And I had this requirement that I had to write a master's thesis for a business MBA for an MBA, which is uncommon. It's not a requirement in the United States for an MBA, and I had to write it on something in relation to emerging markets, which is what the MBA focused on at that school, and decided to write it about cannabis. And it was such a taboo topic that the paper was published by the school. It was actually really difficult for me to even find a professor that was willing to supervise the project because of how taboo it was. And really the topic is very like racialized there because cannabis consumption was kind of a cultural norm within African culture, which was then stifled when colonists showed up. But anyway, I could go really deep into that, but finished my MBA, moved back to the States, and was doing some like marketing and brand consulting in the space. And John and Michael, the two co-founders of Surfside, found me and turned me into their sales guy, their first sales guy. Now we have a lot more.
Interesting. Yeah, that taboo, the tabooness still is around. I think it's there's a lot of momentum, but
Yeah.
I still think for a lot of people it makes them like really uncomfortable because there's a lot of question marks.
Yeah, it's strange, like it's great that you're willing to have a cannabis associated person on here. I have a friend that runs a really powerful and really popular entrepreneurial podcast in South Africa, and he doesn't feel comfortable bringing any like African cannabis entrepreneurs on his podcast right now.
Interesting.
Um,
Interesting.
Well, you guys are just
and
in the tech side of it.
yeah, well, it was not even for me. I introduced him to some African business people that I thought would be valuable, and it's interesting because even in that MBA program, we're focused on business, right? And we're in like investment classes, and we're talking about how to build businesses to make money. What's the end goal in business, right? It's to make money. And I would bring up like that we'd be talking investments. I'd be like, well, I've made like 300% on my cannabis investments. And they're talking about like wanting to get 8% out of an investment. And the students would be like, oh, no, they would like kind of stiffen up and not want to talk about weed in the class. So I found it to be very strange, but
Well,
I think it's changing.
How do you feel about, I guess we could talk more about Surfside in a bit, but how do you feel about like the upcoming, I've heard rumors like a bunch of cannabis related stocks have gone up a lot recently. I know they were talking about it on Wall Street Bets, the Reddit page, and there's a few Canadian companies because I think in Canada it's totally legal at this point. And there's a lot of people think maybe there's going to be legislation with Biden now being president that something will happen nationally. Like, what do you think about that?
I think it's hard to say. I don't think it ever happens as fast as people assume it will. I don't think that we're going to legalize cannabis nationally very soon. I think you'll get a lot of pushback, and very soon meaning like in this first presidency. You'll get a lot of pushback from the individual states because each economy is insulated from the other, which is allowing smaller mom and pop businesses to thrive. Whereas if you open up interstate trade of cannabis and international trade, those mom and pops will very quickly get absorbed or, kind of marginalized until they can't survive anymore. And yeah, I think for that reason, states will actually fight to keep it non-federal, and a lot of activist groups will try to keep it from going federal. You have both sides of it. Some people wanted to go fully federal, and I'd say the people who have more money probably wanted to go federal sooner. But I don't think it's as simple as, Biden just passing a law or signing a bill that he agrees with, because all these economies function so differently now and they have so many different laws that it's going to, even if we pass something, it'll take years to implement, in my opinion.
Okay. So you're kind of forecasting like more of the same, just like state by state.
I think in the near
Very
future,
local.
I would say federal's like 5 to 10 years out, in my opinion, but I'm not an expert. Don't quote me. I have no idea.
So I think the viewers are still a little bit confusing about like, so what does your company do, and how is it related to the cannabis business?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Surfside, we help cannabis brands, retailers, multi-state operators, which are companies that operate across states, with their data, their consumer insights, and their digital advertising. There's kind of two aspects to our business, really. There's the data side, and then there's the digital advertising side. The two co-founders, Michael and John, come from, over 15 years of businesses in the digital advertising space, and they're really good at being able to deliver digital advertising according to, like, compliantly and according to different states' regulations, because different states always have different regulation associated with like legal drinking age ads or alcohol or tobacco related ads, pharma based ads, and cannabis they had a lot of experience in those industries and it applied to the cannabis industry. So we can deliver ads on mainstream apps and websites for cannabis and CBD clients. What really powers our ability to do that even further and really boosts our product kind of ahead of others, in my opinion, is the fact that we're profiling every consumer in the US and Canada into 25,000 different attributes. And we look at a consumer and try to understand how likely they are to purchase a cannabis product, or any product for that matter. We do a lot of work outside of cannabis as well these days. And we use that data to basically find the right consumers to hit with those ads.
It's very interesting. So like, was Surfside.io always having the same idea, or did it change over time?
So the idea was, originally John and Michael were doing a lot of work where they would deliver ads based on location. So they worked a lot in auto and pharma, like I said. But for example, someone who owned a lot of auto dealerships would want to hit someone who was visiting competitors' dealerships with ads, because the fact that they were at an auto lot suggested that they were in market for a car. Or if you're going to a Starbucks every day of the week, you're probably someone who buys coffee and should be hit with a coffee ad if you have a different coffee company. So John and Michael wanted to, and the co-founders at Surfside wanted to add more signals of intent to the way that they target people. So Surfside kind of takes that location, but then now we have other signals also feeding our database. So we're integrated with a lot of the major POS and e-commerce platforms in the cannabis space. So we now collect over 35% of all cannabis transactions that occur in the cannabis space. We're appending that transaction to a consumer as well. So not only do we know this consumer physically is visiting cannabis locations, we actually have this other signal that tells us what is in their basket and what they're buying, which is kind of an evolution in terms of digital advertising, is adding more signals into the way that you profile a consumer, not just looking at location as a signal of intent or just looking at a transaction, but looking at both and layering them on top of each other. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so so the idea started as like very much location specific advertising, and like, what have you like learned that's kind of changed Surfside into like what it is today? Like,
what make it change?
Like,
why is that like just location doesn't work?
Or like, what's like something surprising that you've learned along the way?
Surprising. Well, it's not that location doesn't work. It's just that the more data you have, the better digital advertising you can do, or the better decisions you can make, and the better targeting that you can do. I think that what we've learned is that the product that we're selling is very common. I mean, not common, but essentially like digital advertising is a language that most industries speak when you get on the phone with a marketing person. And because of cannabis coming out of the gray and the black markets, it's not historically been an option for marketers in the space to be able to use digital advertising, and they're still blacklisted or blocked off from using Facebook and Google for advertising. So there is a lot of education that goes into selling our product, which I don't think we originally realized would need to be there. I think that we just figured, okay, we're going to sell the idea of digital advertising to cannabis marketing company, or to the marketing teams at cannabis companies, and they're going to understand and they're going to want to buy it, you know? But really, like, the first year of my job was kind of bringing everyone in the industry up to speed on their actual options and their ability to actually utilize digital advertising as a way to reach consumers and acquire consumers. They're used to just using like print and things like that. But that was like over 2 years ago now. So people are kind of ripping and roaring in the digital ad space in cannabis now.
That rings really familiar with me, because we've been working on our own company and Big Green Company, and there's been a lot of, we're trying to reduce single-use plastic, or just get rid of single-use plastic. And there's been so much education that has to happen, because there's like, people are very confused. It's like recycling and impact is like super confusing. And I could imagine that in like this like kind of frontier of cannabis tech, that there's just a lot of misinformation and confusion about what's okay. And then there's the super local, like very, very similar, like there's very localized rules about these types of things. And
no, you're very, it's true. And when you're building something that's like for a new industry and for kind of a new customer, basically, or a new set of customers, which was cannabis for Surfside. I came from cannabis, but they didn't necessarily at first either. And so none of us had sold data and advertising in the cannabis space. So you can never really know like what kind of education needs to occur until you bring your product to market, unless you're doing a ton of like research prior to bringing it. But you're never going to have that meaningful conversation with a prospective client as to like whether they would really utilize. You can't really tease out those questions unless you're really trying to sell them something, I think. And so you kind of have to bring that product to market in order to learn how it needs to adjust to the market and learn what it would take for someone to buy it. And yeah, luckily we had something that we could explain and then sell.
So just
Yeah.
get it out there and then see what people think, basically.
I think, I mean, in an emerging market, which is all cannabis is just a new market essentially. And so everyone's operating in like silos and like certain aspects of uncertainty because they're not sure how regulation is going to change tomorrow. And they heard that, yeah, like you guys said, like because it was a black market industry, I feel like a lot of people were operating on word of mouth in the past. And now they're starting to realize that there is information out there on the internet for you to go out and understand how you can run your cannabis business. And that wasn't always the case. But now they're realizing, you know, there's a lot of data and consumer data that I can tap into in order to more efficiently reach my customers and build my business. And that wasn't really a conversation before.
So you mentioned that you were you were the first salesperson for Surfside.io. So I wonder, before you joined the company, how many customer do they already have, and how many do they have now, like after you joined?
Yeah, so I don't know how many they had before I joined. I can't speak to that. There were a lot of clients that kind of came over to Surfside from their previous company in the early days, and that's pretty much all I can say to that. But you know, we now work with like over 250 dispensaries nationwide, more than 50 brands, I think, at this point, and a lot of those brands are multi-state. We work with a lot of the MSOs. An MSO in cannabis is a multi-state operator, which means it's a cannabis company that operates in more than one state. Those are like the larger publicly traded companies that you're referring to that are like traded on the Canadian Stock Exchange or OTC, over-the-counter exchanges. So we work with a lot of those larger groups now as well. So yeah, we've grown quite a bit. We're now we were 3 people. I was the first hire. And now we're about 17 or 18 with 4 sales guys, but we're hiring about 3 or 4 people every month this year. And so we should be like close to 50 by the end of the year. We're growing really fast this year.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's super exciting. What
Yeah.
does like, I know you're saying that like, so you have kind of like a range of clients. Like what's your kind of bread and butter client look like?
It's really just any client who wants to acquire new customers for their business. So like we work in the B2B space as well, selling cannabis lighting to cultivators because we're targeting people who work at cultivation facilities in the cannabis space. For us, like the data, it's really you come to us with a question or with a target audience. We build out that audience and we go and find those people and deliver ads to them. Like I said, we do a lot of work outside of business as well in the political and educational and mainstream retail and auto spaces as well. The data is not specific to cannabis. We happen to have those integrations into e-commerce and POS platforms in the cannabis space. So we're really good at targeting consumers in those spaces. But we still have, 25,000 different attributes we're assigning to those people that are mainstream attributes that are meaningful to a company if you're, AB InBev or Kraft Heinz or something like that as well.
So do you have any competitions? Like, when you're growing, as a startup, like this sounds like really familiar to me that a lot of advertising companies are kind of similar to this. Like, do you ever encounter any competition that like at your level or like, who are they,
Yeah, there's definitely a few other groups that are doing digital advertising in the space. And then there's other groups that are doing consumer data in the space. But I feel that one of our biggest differentiators is that all of our tech is proprietary. We're not utilizing anyone else's platforms. Like we have our own DSP, demand side platform, which is where we're actually executing the advertising buys on behalf of our clients and purchasing those ad spaces on mainstream apps and websites in real time. We're actually executing that on our own with our own ad tech platform. The consumer database that we have is ours. We are ingesting all these different data signals into one Surfside database and assigning Surfside consumer IDs to every consumer in the US and Canada so that those consumer IDs can then be activated and reached through our advertising platform. So I think what differentiates us is definitely the fact that all of our tech is built in-house and operated by us in-house. So there's none of that data leakage that occurs if you're working with one group for your consumer data and another group for your marketing. You know, when you get too many different cooks in the kitchen, stuff starts spilling everywhere. And we try to keep it buttoned up by operating everything in one place.
So you're basically saying that like your advantage of like out superior your competitor is that you have all the database that you collected yourself, and then like you put it in this one platform. You can also like access it anytime you want and come up with your own analysts for it.
Yeah, and then also because we were such a first mover in the space, we've been able to secure a lot stronger relationships with actual advertising aggregators to deliver the ads. And then we do feel that our consumer database is the largest that exists, as in we are collecting the most transactional data from the cannabis, from these POS and e-commerce platforms compared to others.
Interesting. Well, you sent me over some screenshots, so
Yeah.
cool if I share some of those and we can just talk about it. I have lots of questions.
Yeah, I think I numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can pull them up for sure. The only reason we're not doing a live demo is that the engineers are in there working all the time. So when we do live demos, one of them comes on with me.
Oh, okay.
And I couldn't snag one of them for this. So I just had them take some screenshots.
Maybe I can just
Do you also have engineer background? Because you sound like you really know what you're talking about.
I don't. I did room with a bunch of engineers in college. Maybe they rubbed off on me. I don't know.
Nice.
It takes a while to understand all the lingo, the ad tech lingo.
Yeah, I hate the lingo and the acronyms.
We have a policy in Big Green Company is that like we never use any acronym. It's like forbidden in the company.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
like
that's
the
a good one.
Yeah, the time you took to explain the acronym, you already can solve some other things.
Yeah, I had a professor in my master's program, and he would always say, use the lingo to create the illusion you know what's going on. And we always I don't know, that was a funny quote I remember writing down. So if you memorize enough acronyms, you can convince people you know what you're talking about.
Right.
No, I hate it. I think it's just exclusive. It makes it harder for new people to onboard, and it's a super exclusive way because you're just like, oh, I'm in the know. I know what the acronym means, but really everyone doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. Dope. So maybe you could talk about like what this is about. Like, so audience insights, like
it's really small.
I guess I can go a little bit bigger here. I can make this bigger. Let's see how.
Can you go to the map one that I gave you to start?
Yeah.
Oh, this one?
Go to this one and just zoom in on that. This is a map of LA, I think, and we picked a dispensary in LA. So this green one is the dispensary we picked that we're narrowing in on. And then all the purple ones are all the competitor dispensaries in the area. So we also launched a new platform recently called Motion Signals. So if you look up top, it says Sweet Flower Melrose.
Yeah.
This green dot is Sweet Flower. And then all the purple dots around the outside are Sweet Flower's competitors. So I think there's like a Cookies right here and a MedMen over here. And these are just a bunch of other stores. But one of the things, one of our main tactics in advertising is competitor conquesting, right? So you want to hit the people that are visiting your competitors' stores with your ads for your store. So Sweet Flower will want to hit everyone visiting these other purple dots because we know they're in market and they're visiting stores within driving distance of the Sweet Flower location.
So how do you know that they're going to those other stores?
This is getting it over my head, but essentially we have location data, and your phone has GPS enabled apps on its phone, and you're emitting a signal when you walk around all day. So we have these dispensaries earmarked as, we have every structure in our location database. We have over 145 million points of interest, but like the home that I'm sitting in right now is structured out in Surfside's location database, as is the Starbucks down the street for me and the liquor store on the corner, and all that. So in this view, we're only looking at dispensaries, but we could look at all the Starbucks.
Okay,
well.
so you've kind of indexed all the places that you think are relevant for your consumer, and if someone's going to
And where are you going to place all the advertisement? Like
on your phone, right? Like on a website, mostly text.
Yeah, so it won't be text, it'll be banner ads, like when you're on ESPN.com and you see one of those ads at the top of the screen, or when you're in a weather app like the weather.com app and you see an ad pop up as you're scrolling. Those are the types of ads. It's programmatic advertising, which is basically all ads. Programmatic is all ads on the web aggregated into like one type of technology outside of like Facebook and Google, because those are private marketplaces and they keep it private. They don't let their ad inventory get traded on an open exchange.
Interesting. I like this insight of just like someone's in your neighborhood, they're going to one of your competitors, they're probably your customer, target them. That's interesting.
How do you decide though? How do you decide if they are your customers?
So essentially what we do is we drop a pixel on our client's website. So if we were working with Sweet Flower, we would drop a pixel on their website, and we would also then look at one, all the people visiting their website who are actively engaging with the brand. And two, we would look at the foot traffic at their current stores. Okay. And we would say, okay, of the 25,000 attributes that we're assigning to all these Sweet Flower brand engagers, what are the like 200, whatever it may be, 205,000 attributes that all of these customers have in common, right? But the main thing is that they all buy cannabis, right? So one of our tactics will be to hit everyone else within driving distance of the Sweet Flower location with an ad, because we know they're buying weed and they live nearby, right? But other things that we do is we look at the attributes that all of their current customers have in common, and we build what we call a lookalike audience off of that. So we say, okay, these are the 2,000 attributes that all your past purchasers have in common. Now let's go out and find everyone within a 5-mile radius of your store who also has those attributes and hit them with ads too, because they're likely to buy from your brand because they share the same attributes as your current clients.
They listen to fish and eat
tacos
and
pretty much, yeah. They listen to fish. They hang out at Jones Beach way too much. They shop at
Target.
No, not
your
Target.
Local Guitar Center and all of that.
Yeah. Any like, has there been any? I'm sure there's some stuff you can't share, but like, are there any like kind of surprising things about this like consumer group that you weren't expecting?
Surprising? I mean, not really. I think that it's hard to make generalizations. Okay, the answer is that every consumer group has a different thing that makes them unique, right? So a lot of clients will come to us and they'll say, hey, I want to target, I built my brand for 40-year-old women that do yoga, and they're like, so I want to hit 40-year-old women that do yoga and have visited a dispensary in the last 90 days with ads. And we're like, okay, yeah, we can do that, but we should probably be hitting like everyone who visits a dispensary within driving distance of your dispensary with an ad, because there's probably like elderly people that have an affinity to your brand for some reason that you didn't realize when you were developing it. So we try to start way more general. The purpose of this dash that you're looking at is our motion signals dash. We use this data to target people, but this is a new product we're releasing where you can log in and click on your competitors and see the attributes of their clients and view the attributes of your
interesting.
That's cool.
So if you go to the next slide, the next slides are views that you would get. So like, this is a campaign dashboard. This is telling you like how many people on these days, how many people visited your website, how many devices there were that visited your site. Of those devices, there's 240 profiles. So we profiled, of the 254 identified devices, we profiled 240 of them. There's an average 8-minute dwell time on your website. This is visitation data. So these are visits to your store.
Oh, okay.
So you can come in here and look at like time of day of week that people are visiting your store, things like that.
So what's the difference between visits and visitors? Like here.
Oh, yeah. So visits and visitors.
Is it like means like the physical
Oh, this is the number of
visitors?
the number of visits that have occurred versus the actual unique visitors that are coming by. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yep. And then if you go to the next, this is like kind of data on your location. But what you do is that map that I showed you guys before, you can then click on those different locations, or you can click on your own location and you can view the attributes, the breakdown of your audience, essentially the breakdown of your customer base. And that's what this does. So you can look at age, gender, and all of these different attributes on the side, occupation, and it goes for we have like 450 pages of data, but essentially we'll only feed in the data that's relevant to your clients, because we'll only feed in like the elephant in the room, like the pieces of data that are standing out, essentially.
So it looks like the self-employed has the most category.
Or is it less? That might
Is
be
it
like,
less
that might be
or
under
more?
indexed.
Yeah, that's under indexing. So the purple is below a 1.
Interesting.
So lots of
So
real
if one's
estate
the
people.
average consumer, if one's the average consumer, that's the degree below. If this was live, you'd be able to hover over that and it would show you the percentage below that it was, below the average.
Okay.
Interesting. So what's next?
The site's beautiful, by the way. Like, I love the
Is it like this?
style.
You don't
Thank
get
you.
to see this unless you like sign in as a user.
So this is like a client dashboard. Like,
This is
Right.
a client dashboard. Yeah.
I see.
It's been an internal resource for a long time. We're just starting to release it to our clients so that they can log in on their own and view. Yeah. So this is just more, but if you look on the far right in the toolbar there, or in the, like, as you scroll down, you'll pass through entertainment, you'll pass through finance attributes, life stages, education attributes. Like, there's like thousands and thousands of attributes that will automatically populate into your dashboard so that you can understand what your audience looks like, what your customers look like, or you can click on a competitor's location and see what theirs look like, and then you can compare. And you can build, if you know that, like, for some reason you're not, like, the person right next door is getting a lot of like women or men for that matter, whatever it is, they're reaching some audience that you're not reaching, then you could potentially run campaigns to target just that audience, because you want to kind of conquest that audience from your competitor, things like that.
Yeah.
So do you help with sort of like the messaging on these ads, or do you just say like, hey, here's your target, take aim and fire, or do you help them be like, okay, this is kind of how you want to approach this?
It depends on if we're doing the creative for our clients or not. We're not a creative agency. It's not our goal to like get your creative, like get the project for creating your creative. Generally, like, the company will create their own assets or their own ads and they'll send them to us and we'll provide feedback. But they'll have an idea of like what campaign they're trying to run or what products they're trying to sell and the consumer they're trying to reach. And we'll just kind of provide feedback on the aesthetic and make sure that we think it's going to get clicked on.
So how do you calculate the conversion rate? Because like, even though you put out the ads, doesn't mean that people will see it or click into it. Like, so I think you can calculate how many people click on the ads, but like, what about the people just browse it? Like, how do you know that they have stopped for it?
So yeah, every device that clicks on an ad gets like earmarked because they come to the website through one of our ads. Their like path to the website is then recorded through our pixel.
Right.
But then the way that we really measure, it depends on what your campaign has designated as a conversion. If you're trying to just drive website traffic, then that would be a conversion. They clicked on the ad and they came to the site. That'd be a conversion. But because we are measuring the foot traffic at all these dispensaries, a conversion could be how many visits, physical visits, did the campaign drive. So how many people saw an ad, clicked on the ad, and then walked into a store or walked into my store. So we would count that. Then, because we're also integrated with their online menus and their in-store POS systems as well, we can integrate there. We can actually measure the amount of revenue. The ad could click through straight to the dispensary's online menu or straight to the brand's online menu. The person can make a purchase then and there, and we can measure the amount of revenue driven as a result of someone seeing an ad.
Nice. That's
Exciting.
really cool.
So one of our whole like tenets is that when you run digital advertising, you should be able to measure the return on your ad spend, or the ROAS, which is basically just ROI in advertising realm. And so we want to help our clients understand the exact ROI on every ad that they send out. And our integrations with these POS and e-commerce platforms in the space, like iHeartJane, Dutchy, Trees, like these are really big providers of transactional software in the cannabis space. Because we have an integration there, we not only can measure the fact that they clicked on an ad, then came to the website, then they go into that POS system or that Shopify type setting and make a purchase, and we're still tracking them through there. We're still measuring the amount of revenue driven.
So I know that at least in the US, I know this is all cash, right? So how are you connecting like a user with someone that clicks on an ad versus someone that goes into a store and makes a purchase when it's all cash?
There are now platforms on the internet where you can make purchases online.
Oh,
so
okay.
you can either pay with a debit card, and in some states they're allowing credit as well now, or you place the order online through the online menu, and you pay when you get to the store to pick it up, or you pay when the delivery guy gets to your store or gets to your house.
Okay.
So transactions are changing like quite quickly. Like I went into a store the other day, forgot my cash, and they now take debit cards at the store down the street from me. And a year ago they didn't do that. And I think in California, never mind, I'm not even going to speak to it. I believe I've used credit card in some state at some time, but I don't remember which it was.
Okay. Yeah, it's crazy, the banking situation.
Yeah.
I heard that in Colorado there's like whole industries now of just people that drive around your cash and like security around it.
Yeah, they're called secure transport companies, and it's like all ex-military guys in armored vehicles, armed, and moving around cannabis and or cash.
Yeah, I wonder if you could I know that you can't use so most places they can't use, this is totally off topic, but like I know you can't use like credit cards most places. That's probably changing soonish, but I wonder if you could use crypto.
Some platforms are being built that I know of that do accept crypto on a B2B transaction. As in, like, if you're wholesaling your product to a retailer, they can use crypto. I haven't heard of, I don't know of any consumer facing platforms that accept crypto, but once again, you'd probably want to talk to my engineering team who are doing all the integrations with POS and e-commerce platforms, because they would know.
They would know more intimately.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're stuck with me today, guys.
Yeah, you're good.
No, I love hearing about your company.
I love this. Yeah. This is fascinating. But yeah, we can get closer to to wrapping it up. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
We usually do like a goals and obstacle for the weeks, for your startup. So why don't you share with us what's your goals and obstacle?
Or we could go first if you want to see an example.
Yeah. So for us, so for our goals this week is that we want to get 8 signups, 8 people sign up for the site. And how do we get to it? It's in our project will be we launch in different platforms and go talk to different users, etc. And our obstacle would be we need to find ways to talk to user more, or we need to find a product market fit and stuff like this. But we want it to be really limited to just a week so that you can be highly focused.
Yeah. So we're trying to get just 8 signups.
So what do you think your goals and obstacle for the week for Surfside?
Yeah, very
you gotta have goals. I have so many goals. I'm building out a team that's focused on dispensary sales, so I need to hire someone for that in the next week or two. That's high on my list. From an operations standpoint, we're trying to get to 100% renewals with all of our clients. So very focused on making sure that campaigns are performing to their utmost potential. So just making sure that basically all clients are happy, all their reporting is coming to them, and that they're reviewing it and taking time to make sure that we're all on track. Really, is just keeping my clients happy on a weekly basis is like my weekly goal. And then on a larger basis, I need to build this team and hire some people for it. So those are my 2 immediate goals.
Nice.
What about your obstacles?
The obstacle is just finding good people, maybe?
Obstacles is, finding good people. It's hard to find good people in cannabis. There are a lot of, not to say that cannabis people aren't good, but it's rare that you can find someone who has a long history of cannabis experience that can sell tech also, So that's definitely an obstacle. And for that reason, it's going to be a little harder to just find someone. I can't just find like any salesperson. I need to find someone who understands what it means to work in cannabis and the amount of hustle that's involved and the amount of patience that's completely necessary in order to survive in this industry. Patience meaning because the market is so young and developing so rapidly that things are constantly changing and in flux, and they don't happen overnight, and you need to be able to be very flexible and agile. So finding that type of person is difficult, and having that person, but also having that person that has the ability to sell technology that is, to be honest, confusing to most people when you try to explain it is a special kind of person for sure.
Nice.
Okay, so another one we're doing is big win and big fail for the week. So I think the big win for us is that we were able to do this live stream without having our internet go out. So that's a big win. And then a big fail for us is that I'll take the blame for this fail, but we tried to buy like a nice microphone so that you could hear us and it'd be beautiful on the live stream. And I got it on OfferUp, and then I brought it home and it kind of doesn't work that well. And so I think I got tricked by the guy on OfferUp. So I'm a little bit upset about that.
Damn, that's rough.
So what's your big win and fail?
Big win and big fail.
Big win. Closed a big MSO this week, so that was
What's
good.
MSO again?
Like a multi-state operator. So
okay.
Late last night, Valentine's Day, got a great campaign and a great partner.
Nice.
Finally, that we've been working on for a long time, so that's definitely a big win. And big fail. No failures over here, only wins.
It's okay to fail. No, fail's good. You learn more.
No, I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. I'm literally looking at my notes of things that we just connected on this morning that we needed to like fix. But essentially, like the company is growing, and we have all these new operations people and sales people all on our CRM, and we're like butting heads and like running into each other in the way that we're tracking different things. So I think that we're like currently kind of failing at getting everyone on the same page within our CRM platform so that we're doing the same thing. But hoping to remedy that because we have a big a team meeting where ad ops and sales will come together and figure out how to be kumbaya on our CRM. So
what do you use for CRM?
We're in HubSpot right now.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
We've used HubSpot too.
HubSpot's good software.
I like how simple it is.
Yeah, it's super simple. For now, it's working for now. If we get much larger, we might need to upgrade to like a Salesforce or something, but for now it's been good. Yeah.
Cool. And then our last section is just recommendations. That could be like a book or a TV or TV show or movie or anything.
What would you recommend if someone tried to start a business? Like what would you like?
Or anything, just any recommendations.
Anything,
yeah.
Interesting. I only read story. You know me. You guys know I'm a poet. Actually, right. Queenie, the last time I saw you in person, I was performing poetry on the night that Ian proposed to you.
Yes.
So
yeah.
And I don't do well with the with like the how to run a business books. They're the like 5 steps to becoming successful. I only read to kind of escape, if that makes sense. So right now I'm reading like a few different books by Herman Hesse, which is the guy who wrote Siddhartha and Narcissus and Goldman, all of that. And those stories are all about kind of the journey of life, as opposed to like, this is what needs to happen, step 1, step 2, step 3. For me, I look more at things from like a more complete view. And I think those books help me because they're more about like being present in that moment in your journey, as opposed to, and not to sound like I work in the cannabis industry too much, but as opposed to like do step 1, then do step 2. I don't believe that there's one route to success. I believe that fluidity is important. And especially in an industry where things are changing so rapidly, it's very important to stay fluid and flexible. I don't know if that answers your question at all.
Yeah, so Herman Hesse novels.
Yeah, Herman Hesse novels for sure.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. I think my recommendation would be Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It's a book.
Yeah.
Holy
Teach
cow.
you how to persuade and how to negotiate and how to make deals.
It's like so much negotiation.
In a way that you don't hurt each other's feelings.
Yeah, it's like essential reading for just dealing with life. I feel like there's all these negotiations where I just was...
Especially in a business.
Especially in business or just personal relationships. And I just was so lost for my whole life on negotiation. And now it's like a good... guide. It's like a
basically
just
don't speak. Don't say, yeah. If you speak first, you lost. That's it.
A little bit, yeah. You're in
so
sales.
You read the book?
Have you read it?
No, but I've taken negotiation courses and read like a full negotiation textbook at one point. But yeah.
For your MBA or for just in business school?
For the MBA, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, negotiation was this whole subject matter I didn't even know existed, but.
It's definitely important in a negotiation to practice the negotiation before you do it. Because if you're not used to negotiating very often, which we're not all, like, unless you're like a big corporate business person, you're going to be at a disadvantage when you enter into a negotiation with someone who's doing it way more than you, right?
Right.
So you need to have things listed out that you're willing to give away, things that you can't give away, things like you need to have practice that. I have a few friends that I always call and run through a negotiation with them before I go live with it.
Preparation.
Nice.
We were watching some Jordan Belfort. He's the Wolf of Wall Street. And one of his things, he did a study where people were studying sales and they had him come down to Australia. And then they gave him this like fake sales pitch. And he spent like over an hour, like just prepping out an outline for sales. And then he was able to sell the guy who was like an actor paid not to sell. And they said that he spent more time preparing than any of the other like 100 salespeople that they were studying. He spent like 3 or 4 the amount of time as the other people. And it's like, it's all prep.
It's all prep and repetition, I think. Yeah. Then you can make the sale.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think we're good.
Yeah, cool. It's great having you.
Yeah, no, it's really great to have you here. I love being able to talk about our products. So thank you for creating a platform and inviting me to speak on it. If you or anybody watching this, wants to talk about, utilizing consumer data to make smarter decisions in marketing, then, Surfside is here. And especially within cannabis, we're definitely growing quickly and helping our clients do the same. So love to help more.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
There you have it.
All
Travis, Surfside.
Thanks, guys.
Let's end it there. Peace
out.
out.
All right, peace. Bye.